Great day, everybody. Kerry Chappelle, real estate agent, real estate investor, here in front of my whiteboard because I have this illustration drawn out so I can try to help you understand what is a double closing. This is something that a lot of my mentees ask about. It's one of the first questions that people have, once you start getting into the point where you got your property under contract and things of that nature. So hopefully this helps. So let's jump right into it, right? The biggest difference between a double closing and a traditional closing is one is consecutive and one is concurrent. So with a traditional closing, you have like a concurrent situation where everything is happening at the same time. So what I mean by that is, here's the illustration: W for wholesaler, S is the seller, B is the buyer. At closing, everything kind of happens simultaneously. So as the ownership of the property transfers from seller to buyer, you as the wholesaler get paid, and it all happens in one transaction, which makes for one HUD, right? I'll talk about why that's important in a second. Let's come back to that and come over to the consecutive side. So consecutive basically means that one right after the other. That's where the double closing comes in at. So same scenario with the seller and buyer over here, but everything's going to happen in two transactions. The first transaction is going to happen between seller and you, the wholesaler. Then after you gain possession of the property, immediately afterwards, the ownership of the property is going to transfer to the buyer in a second transaction. And with I guess the idea behind why people like this is because as a wholesaler, your end buyer won't have any idea how much you got the property under contract for, because after your transaction happens here, seller sells the property to you, the wholesaler. Seller is out of the equation. There's one HUD for that transaction, and then wholesaler then sells the property over to buyer immediately afterwards. Then there's another HUD for this transaction. Now, for me, and this is just my personal opinion, this is a lot of work and it's an extra step for no reason. I understand some wholesalers, especially beginning wholesalers, may be concerned about the buyer knowing how much your assignment fee is, or knowing how much you have the property under contract for, because maybe if they feel like you're making too much money, they'll want to negotiate further. I don't deal with people like that. Cash buyers who make it onto my buyers list, the only number they should be worried about is their number. What is their construction cost going to be? What do they plan on doing with the property after I flip it to them? If I bring somebody a property that's worth $100,000, if I bring it to my buyer for $50,000, it shouldn't matter to my buyer if I have the property under contract for $1. I don't deal with buyers who count my pockets. I like to have buyers on my buyers list that are concerned about their business, and that's how most real cash buyers are going to be. If you're talking to somebody who's, let's say you have a property under contract and you start to advertise it, and somebody comes to you as a cash buyer, but then they want to know how much you got it under contract for, 9 times out of 10, that's another wholesaler just trying to vulture your deal. So just definitely keep an eye out for that. But I hope this video help you understand the difference between a traditional and a double closing. And I threw some extra game in there, letting you know I really don't deal with the double closing. It's just an extra step. These wholesale deals can get complicated enough on their own without us as the wholesalers making it more complicated. So my advice: stick to the traditional closing, close early and close often. Let's get it.